Corey Graves walks out on WWE. And it's not a work. AEW stars happy that a talent is leaving. Are AEW screwing with Penta and Fenix following the Raw debut? And more. I'm Luke Owen, your forever Jam That Champion, and this is the WrestleTalk News.
Support WrestleTalk!
Get exclusive bonus videos over at patreon.com/WrestleTalk.
On yesterday's WrestleTalk News, Ollie Davis covered the curious case of Corey Graves and his angry tweets. Graves transitioned from the ring to the commentator's desk in 2014 following a concussion which prematurely ended his in-ring career. He stayed in NXT as a commentator and a pre-show panelist for the main roster before moving to the Raw commentary desk in 2016 as a color commentator. He then moved to SmackDown and then back to Raw in 2021 and then back to SmackDown to aid Kevin Patrick in his lead commentator role. When Patrick left WWE, Graves was promoted to be the lead play-by-play guy on SmackDown, but it was only a short-term thing, as WWE hired Joe Tessitore, who became the new play-by-play guy for Raw, which moved Michael Cole back to SmackDown and Graves back to color. And even that was a short-term deal, as WWE had announced that Pat McAfee would be returning to the company following his College Game Day coverage, and he and Cole would reunite as the Raw team on Netflix, while Tessitore and Wade Barrett would cover SmackDown. So what would become of Corey Graves? Well, we found out last week on NXT that NXT was his new commentary destination, as part of a three-man booth alongside Vic Joseph and Booker T. Some fans noted online that Graves didn't look thrilled about this move and looked visibly annoyed on the broadcast, not helped when it seemed that Booker T was unaware that Graves used to be a wrestler. And this then boiled over when Graves tweeted out, "Imagine chasing your dream, then being told, not deciding, that you're no longer physically able to pursue your dream. Then you dedicate your life to something dream adjacent and being pretty effing awesome at it. And then, when it's time to enjoy the fruits of your labor, being told that you're not famous enough for your own job. Just in case you've been wondering where I've been." Fans read the famous enough line as a jab at Pat McAfee, and Graves followed up this tweet with a promotion for this week's NXT saying, "I've got a lot to say. Don't miss NXT tonight on the CW tonight." Right, so we've been here before with Corey Graves, yeah? Graves has a reputation online for not exactly working the marks, but instead working the dirt sheets. A few years back, he did angles on podcasts where he and Booker T said they had real-life heat, which they then revealed to be a ruse to fool the dirt sheets into thinking it was real. Problem for them was that the so-called dirt sheets that reported on the news at the time thought it might be a work. Because sometimes it is just safer to presume things are a work. So maybe this whole new thing with NXT is another worky McWork face and is building to a match between Graves and McAfee. After all, he was promoting last night's NXT. But then PW Insider reported that Graves was not going to be on last night's NXT. Not only that, but he was spotted at the TSA area and was flying out of Orlando. Unlike a lot of WWE talent, Graves doesn't live in Florida and resides in Pittsburgh. Corey Brennan of Fightful Select then confirmed that Graves was not at the NXT rehearsals and only 2 chairs had been set up for the commentary desk for Vic Joseph and Booker T. Fightful add, "To be clear, Fightful Select has not confirmed if this is a work or a shoot, but those close to him claim it's real." Sam Adonis tweeted out, "This was not a work," and Ebu of WrestlePurist tweeted, "WWE is not building any kind of Graves-McAfee match." Fightful add, "It was claimed by multiple sources that Graves was legitimately frustrated with being moved to NXT." Fightful also report that sources in WWE at higher levels have expressed that they figured Graves would just return to Raw or SmackDown by the spring, and the NXT move might have been a last-minute deal. They write, "When asking amongst both talent and production sources in NXT, we did not hear from anyone who was aware of Graves' initial move to the brand, with many being surprised to see him at New Year's Evil." So, come on then. Let's have it in the comments. Do you think this is a work? Do you think it's a shoot? Do you think it's a shoot that could become a work? Or even a work shoot that becomes a shoot work? Jabroni marks, etc. Speaking of backstage scuttlebutt, it was reported by Fightful last week following AEW Dynamite that Malakai Black was either done or close to being done with All Elite Wrestling. On that episode of Dynamite, Will Ospreay told Buddy Matthews that he doesn't need a leader, and Cope said works are pretty much the same effect to Brody King and Julia Hart on Collision, effectively splitting up the House of Black faction that Malakai leads. Dave Meltzer then added in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that while it's not confirmed he's returning, there have been creative pitches for Black within WWE. Black has had a weird time in All Elite Wrestling and has been the subject of plenty of rumor and plenty of innuendo. And in talking about the news on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer added, "It's funny because as talented as he is, everyone I've asked about it, they all kind of reacted the same. And it's kind of like, good." So, whatever that's worth. The backstage rumor on Black is that he wanted to go back to WWE from essentially the moment he was fired by the company, and AEW was just a stopgap. Meltzer adds that once this attitude was clear, it doesn't work out to put you on TV or anything like that, especially if you're not comfortable losing, it makes it a lot worse. The "comfortable to lose" comment is a reference to fans noting that Black was barely booked in one-on-one matches in All Elite Wrestling and was not part of either Continental Classic. Black has been listed alongside Miro and Andrade as guys who didn't like to lose matches or put anyone over who hadn't previously worked for WWE. This has been a long-standing rumor, but it has only ever just been that. A rumor. It's something that I've been told by people within AEW, but I don't know any actual validity to it. So maybe take all of this with a pinch of salt. Someone who did finish up with All Elite Wrestling recently was Penta, who debuted for WWE on this week's episode of Raw in a winning effort over Chad Gable. Reports suggest that WWE were very happy with the debut, especially the online reaction and Penta's early merchandise sales. For what it's worth, Fightful note that WWE's happy accident claim about Penta's merchandise being leaked early to, well, probably not be the case, and it was probably done on purpose, because, well, I mean, of course it was put out on purpose. Penta's AEW contract was originally supposed to finish up in the middle of 2024, but the company added injury time to it, which meant it actually finished up on December 1st. His brother Ray Fenix had more time added to his contract as he had more time out with injury. This reportedly scuppered some of WWE's plans as they wanted to bring them in as a tag team package. Reportedly, this then changed the plans for the Motor City Machine Guns, who were supposed to be part of NXT but debuted for SmackDown when the Lucha Bros became unavailable. Ray Fenix became rather vocal about his treatment by All Elite Wrestling, which he claimed was inhumane in a now deleted tweet, which was prompted by Chris Featherstone reporting about the heat between the Lucha Bros and AEW. The rumor is this report damaged the relationship between Fenix and AEW even further, as Fenix was either about to get his release from the company to join his brother in WWE or get creative pitches for a final run in All Elite Wrestling. And now, in a new curious twist in the tale, all of Ray Fenix's merchandise has been removed from AEWshop.com. Clicking on his image leads to a 404 error, and a search for his name brings up 0 results. This started some speculation online that Ray Fenix could be getting his release from AEW, but the new scuttlebutt is that WWE announcing they would be running Saturday night's main event directly against All In July might have put that idea on the back burner. After all, this is a wrestling war. But it is a wrestling war where there are still friends, and WWE's Karrion Kross put out a tweet saying that he was looking forward to Ray Fenix joining the WWE ranks. There was also a report from PW Insider that some talent in WWE were not thrilled about Penta's debut match on Raw, as his segment, which included his post-show promo, went over time, and that meant things elsewhere had to be cut or trimmed. Which to me seems rather odd, given that now Raw is on Netflix, they don't have a hard out time. The show ran for 2.5 hours, but it could have run for 3 hours if they wanted it to. Fightful Select confirmed PW Insider's report that Penta's promo segment went longer than WWE expected, but could not confirm if it had a knock-on effect. As for the heat, when Fightful spoke to a higher-up, they said that they hadn't specifically heard of heat on Penta, and if there was heat, it should be on whoever decided there needed to be a hard out on the show. They add, among talent that we spoke to, they claimed they didn't hear of heat on Penta, and most everyone was aware of what the moment meant to him and his family, and the roster was happy for him. As for the timing issue and knock-on effects, while WWE doesn't have a hard out time for Raw on Netflix, Fightful Select report that some talent were looking to leave Raw on the scheduled 2.5-hour end time so they could catch late flights home. Lastly, on the Pentagon Junior news, and Dominik Mysterio continues to be WWE's cheekiest wrestler. After pretending that he didn't know about Logan Paul's controversial history with Japan on Paul's own podcast, he has now taken a little cheeky shot at one CM Punk. In a response to WWE's tweet asking who the fans would like to see Penta face in the ring next, Dom replied with CM Punk and a clip from a match between Punk and Penta from AEW, where Punk attempted a top rope Hurricane Rana and botched it, resulting in both men falling down. I can see why that's not part of Punk's move set. anymore. Come at me, Phil. But that's all from me today, and if you all could just check out last month's episode of Cutscene, where I looked at the supposed banned Mickey Mouse movie with interviews from the folks who made it. Click the video on screen right now to check it out.